Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are now listening to Rob and Rat's World of Wonder podcast. So sit back, relax, and prepare your ears as they take you on a journey of all things weird and wonderful.
Hello and welcome to the Rob Rat podcast. I am Rob.
I'm Rat.
And you're very welcome along. If it's your first time listening, thanks very much for finding us. And if you're coming back to listen to us again, thanks for coming back.
Yay.
Yeah, don't too enthusiastic there, Steve.
Sorry.
So on this week's episode, we're taking a look at Anya, the animal kingdom.
It sounded like you said Anya.
A girl called Anya. Can you do it, the Lion King? Okay, it was a lot better than my one. Yeah, we're going to take a look at the animal kingdom and its connection between the kind of connection between humans and animals.
Yeah.
So that's
I suppose all life is connected in one way.
It's very deep at the start. Wow.
In the great circle of life.
It is, yeah.
Speaking of the Lion King, I know we're not, but have you seen the new Lion King?
I haven't, no. Have you seen it?
Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrible, is it?
It's so bad.
I don't think you've given a good film review on our podcast yet.
I don't know if I have, but no, it's so bad. Like the old Lion King is brilliant. It's a class film.
Yeah.
The new one is terrible. A lot of people said you can't. It's well done with the real animals and stuff, but the animals show no emotion, and it's not as good as the cartoon. They're going too far, Disney, I think, with this whole remake and
it's all CGI stuff, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
And is there any like human actors, or is it all CGI? Is it kind of
well, human actors do the voices of the animals.
so there's no humans in the Lion King, is there? There's not anyone at all.
No, it's not good at all.
What am I thinking of? The Jungle Book.
The Jungle Book, yeah. But the old Lion King was a great film, right?
Okay.
And the new one, it's not even like they brought James Earl Jones back to be Mufasa, and he isn't even as enthusiastic about the role. I don't know. It's just not. Why make? I don't know.
He's an unenthusiastic lion, is he?
Yeah, it's just not as good. Yeah, it's just not as good. It's not as good. Anyway.
Well, there you go. Yeah, well, that's a great opening to the show. So we're going to start. We go to the news.
Sorry, I was drinking coffee there.
That's all right.
I apologize. We'll go to the news.
We'll go to the news.
Rob and Rat's Weird and Wonderful News.
Hey, it's the news.
Hello and welcome to the world famous Rob Rat News. So we've got a couple of news stories to go through. So I might start. Will I start?
I first start. I know you start.
Okay, so we'll start. So previously in the past, right, I've reported some seagull news. You may remember the story of Gizmo the mini chihuahua. He was abducted by a seagull, and then reports of a seagull fitting the same description was seen attacking and murdering a pigeon not far from where the dog was snatched. Remember that story?
Yeah.
Sad story. Well, seagulls are at it again. Seagulls have started eating baby swans.
I'm glad you said swans there.
Yeah. Well, it's only the start. It wouldn't be babies yet by the way they're going on. So despite attempts by the parent birds to defend their young, one male swan is believed to have been killed by a massive gull brutally attacked its cygnets. Shocked witnesses shouted abuse at the gull as it flew away with the helpless babies in its mouth, and an adult swan was later spotted dead in the river in Kent, and reports that baby swans were missing from the nest.
Yeah, but in fairness, like, they have to eat as well, seagulls. Like.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff going on. Like, for instance, the seagulls are getting out of hand. They really are. Like, one of our listeners, Brian, got in contact with the show, and this is quotes from a message he sent to me. He said, I don't have any personal experience with them, but apparently there's one that frequents a car park on the Tuam Road, and he doesn't back off when you try and chase him. And he's heard a couple of stories from other people that he's terrorising the place out there. And Brian also told us that a friend of his who worked in Dunn Stores told him that a woman came into the store complaining about a seagull flying off with her beef stir-fry strips that she had just bought. And apparently they've gotten more complaints since about seagulls terrorising customers outside Dunn Stores. So it has gotten slightly out of hand. There's a lot of seagull attacks, and
yeah, they're annoying, like.
They are, yeah.
But then swans are no, angels either, like. They're fairly aggressive.
Yeah, but I think they're kind of doing their own thing. They're just sitting in a lake. Like, that's not even the sea. You know what I mean? It's different if they're lake gulls and they're coming in going...
I wonder, are they killing them to eat them? Or just,
they are, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, unless it's for sport.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah. But that's fair enough, I think. Unless, like, I'd be annoyed now if they took my stir fry. I think we were on about, in a previous episode, about a woman who had her sandwich taken off.
Yeah, a woman in Dublin got her sandwich stolen out of her hand, yeah.
Yeah, they're annoying. That is annoying. Annoying.
Well, that's some seagull news anyway.
Yay! Is that your story?
Well, that's that story on seagulls. Yeah, I've got more news, but that's
grand.
Yeah,
I wish I had animal news for today's episode, but I don't.
That's okay. I think that's the only animal news I have.
Well, my news today is I don't know if you heard about this, but it was a few weeks back. A couple in Montoursville, Pennsylvania, learned the hard way that bank errors in your favour don't mean you get to keep the money. Did you hear about this story?
No.
So Robert and Tiffany Williams checked their account balance with BB&T Bank and found an extra $120,000 they had in their account.
120,000.
Yeah, they didn't question the mysterious money and went on a shopping spree. So over the course of 2.5 weeks, the couple withdrew more than $100,000 from their account, spending it on bills, a down payment for a Chevrolet SUV, a camper, a car trailer, and even a race car worth $15,000. They gave $15,000 to friends and family who needed it. And as it turns out, a teller at the couple's bank had accidentally deposited the $120,000 into the couple's account on May 31st, when it should have gone to an investment firm. The error was discovered a month later on June 20th, leaving the Williamsons overdrawn by $107,000. Before the teller's error, the couple had $1,100 in their account. But
before that, they only had 1,100.
But the fact they went and spent it, I know,
And what's happening now to this to pay it back?
Well, what's happening? Bank officials called state police after attempts to communicate with the couple were unsuccessful. The couple admitted to investigators to knowing the money had been mistakenly deposited into their account, but they spent it anyway. The couple was arrested on charges of theft and receiving of stolen property.
Jesus.
Yeah. So bad news for them, but
not good, no.
I know. Do you know? I think say if you went and checked your bank account now and you figured there was $6,000 in it, that's not that much, but it was a mistake in the bank. You just kind of hope. What I would say is, I didn't realize. I never really checked my account. I was just spending. You could.
Yeah.
Play stupid.
It depends. Well, if you already had
we do not condone stealing.
No, but if you had if 500,000 in your bank and they accidentally put $6,000 in.
Yeah.
You wouldn't notice it.
And they just take it back out of your account.
But then you could say, hold on a second, I didn't, you know what I mean?
But the fact that they'd spent the money and given it away.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. Well, at least they gave some of it away, do you know what I mean?
In fairness as well, though, it is the bank's fault. You're one...
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That was a bad mistake,
I presume, yeah. It's a costly mistake.
But I don't know where they're at now, but I'm sure
I presume they just start paying it back bit by bit. If they only had 1,100 quid in the bank between them, I'm sure it'll take them a while to pay back 107,000.
Yeah, Tiffany Williams told bank officials that she no longer had the funds after paying off bills. She would work on a repayment plan with the bank after she spoke to her husband. But then it was after that the bank contacted them. They stopped answering the phone or whatever. So
that reminds me of a story, right? Speaking of payment plans, there was going around somewhere. I don't know. I read it somewhere. So there was a woman who was going on a Tinder date with this guy. She went to a restaurant and she arrived at the restaurant early. I think it was the Shard in London, this expensive, nice restaurant. And she looked down, they brought her down the wine list, and I think she'd had a couple of G&Ts before she got there.
Yeah.
And she ordered a bottle of wine off the list that she thought was £50, right?
Yeah.
And she was
don't tell me it was 50,000.
Sitting down there anyway, and then the date arrived, and she had drank half a bottle of wine, and then the date arrived, and she said, "Oh, should we get another bottle?" And so they brought down another bottle, and then they drank that bottle between them, and then they got one more, and they had some food. It turned out that each bottle was worth 5,000 British pounds.
Jesus.
So it became
was
down.
it champagne or wine?
I don't know, just expensive wine, whatever the hell it was. But it came down to a bill of £15,000, right? That she had to pay, and then she was like, "I didn't realise it was that much." She was a bit pissed, obviously, didn't realise it. She said, "I can't pay it," so she now has a direct debit that she has to pay off this wine.
Oh my God.
Until it's paid off.
God, in fairness, though, you think in that restaurant they would say no? I suppose
the guy said he didn't know her. He'd never met her. It was their first Tinder date, and he sat down. And
I suppose they might.
And they're coming up to him with a bill, because normally sometimes the man has to take care of the bill, you know. And he opened the thing, and it's 15 grand of a bill. He's like, "What the?"
Yeah, I suppose it's not his fault, but I'm saying, say the waiter in the hotel should have said, "Oh, just to let you know, this is worth $5,000." But I suppose
it's an expensive place, and it's a fancy place. And I think she said, you should have said to me. She goes, "Well, the waiter said something or they got the manager out, and he said something along the lines of "Well, we get a lot of people in here, and we don't like to kind of mention the price of stuff."
Yeah, exactly. I suppose if you said
do you realise how much this wine is?
Yeah.
You want them to buy it.
If someone was there who was fairly wealthy ordering that bottle of wine, and the waiter said, "Do you realise that?" They'd probably get offended and say, "Of course I know how much."
Yeah, give me two.
Yeah. Speaking of restaurants and stuff like that, when myself and Sheena, my wife, were on a honeymoon, we only went to London now. Because, anyway, whatever about
only.
It. Yeah. But we went out for a meal. Oh, I'll never forget this. We went for a meal in a steakhouse. It was a lovely meal, but it was ruined because I'll tell you why. We were sitting having our meal, and when we went in to sit down, there was a couple next to us. You could tell it was like a fresh date. You know what I mean? We were fairly close to them, and they were kind of getting to know each other, right?
You were eavesdropping, were you?
Well, you couldn't kind of help but eavesdrop, but we were chatting away to ourselves, and that was fine. They ordered before us their starters. We ordered our starters, right? The lady, the girl on their table, there was two of them. The girl went up to go to the bathroom, right? Then their starters came. She didn't come back from the bathroom.
She stood
at all.
She left,
Right? Oh man, but it ruined our meal because your man was there, and you could tell he was kind of looking around and kind of looking at his phone, and oh man, I felt so bad for him. But like, he ate his starter anyway, but he just stayed there. He ordered a main, then we just had our food and we finished our meal. And I think he just out of embarrassment just stayed there but it was so mortifying.
And did they bring her starter to the table then as well?
Yeah.
He ate hers and his.
No, hers is left there. I think.
I wouldn't have been able to leave. I'd be picking away at it unless it was like, not nice. But I'd be like, if I'm paying for this, give it to me.
But mortifying, like.
Why didn't you invite him to your table?
I said,
come on in, man. Come on. Don't be on your own, buddy.
No. I just couldn't know that, but it was pure mortifying being next to him.
I'm sure, yeah. But then you could talk about it now on the podcast. You're not that mortified. It was hilarious. Here's a funny story.
Funny. Imagine he was listening. He goes, "That was me.
Yeah,
that was me."
Yeah. Well, I hope you've worked it out now and that you're over that now. If you are listening. So, more news, right? Police were called to stop a massive game of hide and seek at an IKEA store. Right, so they were called to a massive game this is on the 30th of August. So they rushed the branch.
What country?
In Glasgow, in Scotland, right? So after reports of people turning up to the shop and hiding in cupboards, fridges and beds. The bizarre story came after more than 2,000 people signed up to a Facebook event to take the childhood game to Glasgow's branch of the Swedish megastore. So another 10,000 enthusiasts also stated that they were interested in taking part in the event. Sadly for them, however, the store's manager got wind of what was going on. According to reports, users in the event page began posting comments saying they had witnessed police turning up and turning people away at the store's entrance. So they kind of like...
They'll probably be questioning people coming in. Why are you here? And, what are you buying?
Yeah. But there's
IKEA stores are good. I can see that they're good. Kids love IKEA stores. Like,
yeah, but you go in, there's just like little rooms and everything all over the place. It is like, but it's not as much fun then when you've seen everything and you just have to get your trolley and go down to the flat pack area and just pull them off the shelves. You don't like...
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Well, anyway, this isn't the first time adults have attempted to turn the flat pack store into a giant playground. The trend started in Belgium in 2014, and then in the Czech Republic and the Netherlands, they've had like some of these games have actually taken place. So it's like a Facebook event, and then people go down and do it. And hundreds of people just go into the store and someone is on and has to go around and find them.
But like, gee, if there's 10,000 people and you're on, it'd be like...
Well, I think 10,000 people are saying they're going to do it. I think a couple of hundred showed up in the Netherlands. Still,
if you were on and you'd find 100 people...
But the only thing is, you don't know all these people. So you're just walking around the store. So you're not sure people are just buying stuff and like...
Found ya!
Then you're like, no, I just happened to look.
Yeah. Tip.
Tip the can, yeah.
So no, I was just saying that was tip the can that brought me.
Did you get a bit of nostalgia? Did you?
There was that the news? Yeah.
No, I've got more news. Have you any more news? That's all you've got. Yeah. Well, this is a bit of a short news, right? But it's related to Ireland. Okay. So there's been a bran flake. Right?
We're Irish.
If you didn't know, top of the morning to you.
Hey. Do Irish people do that?
What?
I just went, way.
We do now, don't we? So a bran flake, which bears an uncanny resemblance to the shape of the island of Ireland, has gone up for sale on eBay for £110 or €112 at the time of recording. And it's described as new, not used with any milk, and may or may not give you the look of the Irish.
Do you have a picture of this?
I do, but I don't have it right here, but I will show it to you.
Maybe we'll post it on
We'll post it. It bloody does look... It does look like Ireland.
Really?
Yeah, it does look like it, yeah.
But it's fairly small, I'd imagine.
It's a small little bran flake. Like, it's a piece of cereal.
You'd want to package it very carefully.
I think what they do is...
If I buy that for 100
you're not allowed to sell a food stuff like that on eBay. So what you do is when you buy it, I think you buy a coupon, and then the coupon is sent to you, and then you send the coupon off somewhere. And they send you the bran flake packaged. You have no burp there, yeah? They send the pack. They send it to you like in a special little box. And I don't know, you might get the look of the Irish with it.
So it's £100
at the moment, yeah. I don't know what it is now, but it might keep going up. But it's just a bran flake. You know, so someone was like going having a bit of breakfast and poured it out in the bowl and goes, "Geez, that looks like Ireland."
Do you know? If only we had the funding and the show yet, we could put a
Just
bill
buy
on
it. Yeah, we'll buy it for the show.
Buy it for the office.
For the office, put it up there behind us, hang the brand flag on the wall. Well, that's all the news I've got. Is that it?
That was the news.
That was the news, guys.
Rob and Rat's weird and wonderful news.
Okay, so that was the news.
That was the news.
Right, so on this episode, right, we're talking...
This episode?
On this episode, yeah. Yeah. So, like, since the dawn of time, right, humans have had a connection with animals, either as farm animals for a source of food or income, or as pets and companions, even as extensions of themselves, such as dogs, for instance, guide dogs for the blind, or canine police units, and also like to heal ourselves through equine therapy. In some cultures...
What's equine therapy?
Equine therapy is like horses.
Oh, yeah.
People use horses to kind of heal.
They're semen.
Not so much their semen. No, I don't think there's any semen.
But
used.
apparently horse semen is a good facial for, I think
someone's been lying to you, Stephen. You've been caught out. Who told you that? Who told you that now? My uncle has a farm. He told me his skin is fantastic. Who told you that? I've heard that being said, like with men saying it about, you know, to try to convince women.
Maybe it's
but I don't think I've never heard horses go out there and get a bit of horse semen on your face.
I don't know, did I fucking...
I think you did, yeah.
Did I either dream that or...
Well, get out of those dreams, Jesus.
Sorry.
Anyway, in some cultures, right, certain animals are sacred or to be revered or have even been sacrificed to God. And in more recent and strange times, people have also married animals and have now got into the stage.
Bestiality.
Well, yeah, and some people are marrying them, some people are putting their semen on their face.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's also now the new trend of like people transitioning into things, you know, identifying as animals and stuff.
I suppose the closest probably to us, like the Western world, would be dogs and cats and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I think dogs they do have isn't there cases as well where, like, you know, I remember there was a show years ago, Strange But True Stories, and there was a case where a farmer, I think this was in the UK, they had a farm dog, obviously a sheepdog in the house, and this one day the sheepdog was in the house, the farmer was, say, just over the hill or whatever, and the dog started going mad.
Trying it on with the wife?
No, he started going mad in the kitchen.
Oh, right.
And the wife let him out anyway, and he was there. She could hear him howling and barking and howling. She was like, what the hell is wrong with him? So she went out, and the husband had actually had a heart attack out in the field. But the dog, you know, they do sense things.
Yeah,
you know? They have a sixth kind of sense, or...
Yeah, well, I'd say, I believe that, yeah.
And it's funny, a dog does know if a dog will know if you're pissed off or
they
if
can
you're
read it,
in
yeah.
good form,
well, that's going to, you see, they can read you. So we're going to speak to a woman later on, we're going to listen to an interview where I spoke to a woman later on, where she reckons that she can read animals like they can read us. So we'll get to that in a bit. But as I mentioned there, right, there has been connections between animals and humans. And so there's been a story of a woman who married her dog. Right? Okay. And normally you hear about this and it's in America or something like that. Yeah. But this is actually up in Northern Ireland.
Oh, you should have got her.
I should have got her.
To talk to
her. Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
You should have got her.
She would have been good to talk
to.
So,
well, anyway, a woman married her dog. She said, despite people thinking she's mad, she said she's not. He's perfect for her. 43-year-old Wilhelmina Morgan Callahan from Northern Ireland married her dog Henry 10 years ago. So she said, we all know a man is a dog's best friend, or dog is a man's best friend. But she credits Henry with getting her through some tough times. Right, she said things have fallen apart for her somewhat since we got married in 2009. She said she lost her job in a morgue and she was forced to become, this is what I don't know about this, a freelance embalmer. I don't know, would you not just go to the morgue? I know this woman who does it for cheap. We'll get her in to embalm someone. Anyway, but that's what she said. Oh, Mike just fell off there now. So she said, a freelance embalmer, yeah. So she said there's not much money in that. And then she said my house flooded. But Henry has been great throughout it all. He's so loyal. She added that she calls him Ree, which is the Gaelic for king.
And short for Henry.
Henry, Ree. Yeah. That's true. That's probably what. That's very good. That's quite good. I wouldn't have got that now.
Would you not?
No, well, I suppose I'm not really concentrating on it. I was thinking about the next thing I'm going to say. But yeah, so Henry, and then it's Ree is a Gaelic for king. Because she said he is like a king. He's my king. And it's not actually legal to marry a pet in Northern Ireland. Or anywhere, actually. Well, in a lot
in
of
Northern
places.
Ireland,
No, in the UK or in Ireland here.
But like, how did you?
So the marriage is a spiritual one.
Okay.
And Callum, but she said she takes it very seriously and she's got a certificate.
Oh God! Well, did she print this herself? Like,
I don't know. I think there was a little ceremony and stuff. She had all the other animals in the house.
a marriage cert, and like she signed it, and then she dipped his paw
little
in
paw
ink,
on it.
and
Yeah. He licked it.
Come on.
Yeah. In 2010. An 18-year-old Balinese man whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce because I just can't.
He's from Ballina, is he?
Balinese, yeah. Balinese. Ballina, yeah. He was forced to marry a cow after he was caught having doggy style or bovine style, in this case, sex with it in a rice paddy field. And the worst part is, after the two were married, the cow was drowned in the sea in order to cleanse it of its sins. And the boy then was they didn't really drown him; they just got symbiotically drowned his clothes in the ocean. But so he had to marry the cow.
Where is this?
In Bali.
Oh, Bali. Okay.
Bali in Indonesia.
Yeah. How old was the lad?
18.
All right, so
he got caught
having sex with a cow,
and they said, "Look, you're going to have to marry that cow now." But they wanted to cleanse them both, so they put the cow into the ocean. The cow drowned.
Is that considered animal? Like,
I think kind of in Indonesia, maybe there's different laws. I don't know what you get away with it here in Castlebar.
Yeah.
You know, if you brought the cow down to the lake, I caught my son having sex with this cow. I'm going to drown the cow, and then she's going to drown his clothes.
Yeah.
People
are funny.
People are strange. Speaking of strange people, right? So I've got a couple of stories here about people who were raised by wild animals.
Feral people, yeah. This is interesting. Like real life Tarzans.
Yeah, so a couple of stories, right? So there's a woman called Marina Chapman, and she's an author of
I'm aware of her. I'm just saying I was...
Because you didn't say the name. This is the lady you were going to talk about, is it?
I thought it'd be an interesting episode also. Okay. I didn't know what you
Well, sure, we may try and get her on and get her story. I've only got a little bit of her story, right? So, Marina Chapman is an author of a popular book.
I'm a Chapman!
She lives in Bradford in England, right? If you don't know anything about her past, you say she's probably a pretty normal person living a normal life. But her book, which is her autobiography, is so incredible that most publishers at the start refused to publish it because they just thought it was
the lies.
Bullshit, yeah. But Marina, anyway, was kidnapped, most likely for ransom, but then was abandoned in the Colombian jungle. She was lucky enough to be adopted by a group of capuchin monkeys, which are actually known to be they've accepted human children and stuff into their groups in the past. The animals taught Marina how to catch birds and rabbits with her bare hands, so she was able to survive and take care of herself. After 5 years, she was rescued by hunters who found her, and then they sold her to a brothel. At that point, she had no human language capabilities. She ran away from the brothel, lived on the streets, and became a slave to a mafia family. And then through some connections and through some sheer luck, she managed to get to Bradford as a nanny, where she met her future husband and now has established her own family.
Yeah, that is. No, it's an interesting story, and it's hard to know, whether it's true or not, but... Yeah, I haven't read the book. I've read a bit about her story, and I know of other cases of feral children.
I've got a couple other ones here.
Yeah, go on.
So in December 2007,
I'm a Chapman. Sorry,
Russian authorities brought in a boy who was living with wolves. He looked to be around 10 years of age, but he may have actually been a lot older. He didn't speak any Russian and exhibited wolf-like behaviour. It doesn't say what that was, but I don't know.
I'd say when he fell and hurt his knee, he went, "Ow!"
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it. Some villagers found him in a lair made from leaves in freezing temperatures fairly close to Moscow. The authorities brought him in, gave him a shower, cut his nails, but then he escaped the facility in 24 hours and nothing is known of his whereabouts since.
When was this?
In 2007, December.
2007, yeah. I know there was a case as well of another feral child. Now, I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of it. I haven't researched this episode. But,
well, that's not.
No. But he actually walked on all fours, but I'm saying, he copied the wolves.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on YouTube there before, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool, but it's mad to think, the kids can survive through, there are cases in history where people have survived under the care of animals. It's amazing, really.
Yeah, one of the most famous ones.
I'd imagine that's where the story of Tarzan maybe was.
Mowgli,
inspired,
isn't it?
Not Mowgli. Tarzan. Mowgli is the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's the same.
Is that not?
No, Tarzan is a different story.
Oh, yeah. That's your man who's swinging from the vines and Jane and stuff, yeah. So one of the more famous ones, and when I was looking up stuff online, and there's a big article in The Guardian about this, and I'll kind of post a link to it, because it's an interesting read. It's a long enough read.
Yeah.
It's big, it goes on for a while. When you're reading through something, you go, this is good, and then you scroll, Jesus, this goes on forever, and you read a bit. And I actually read it, because I'm a good researcher. Yeah. So Marcos Rodriguez Panjana, which may not be how you pronounce his name. It's a Spanish name.
That sounds better than my pronunciation of things.
He is a noted feral child. He's reportedly sold to a goat herder at the age of 7 by his father. Yeah, can you imagine that? Anyway, but he soon found himself alone in the mountains. Having suffered years of beatings from his stepmother, he preferred the solitude of the mountains to human company. His story is a special one, not only because he lived for 12 years in the wild with the wolves and other animals, but also because he spent a lot of time trying to integrate back into society. He's 68 years old at the moment, and he's only kind of partly successfully kind of come back into the human world because he spent so long out there. So he said, the animals guided me to eat. So whenever they ate, I ate. He said wild boars ate insects buried under the soil. They found them because they smelled them, and when they were digging the soil looking for them, I threw stones at them. They'd run away, and then I'd dig it up and eat the insects. He started to establish a relationship with some animals, especially a family of wolves. There's a lot of stories of people raised with wolves, isn't there?
Yeah, you think wolves, like, I can kind of understand the likes of chimpanzees or monkeys. You know, you can see, you've seen them interacting with people and that, but wolves, you think they'd be very...
My only thought on the thing with wolves is because, like dogs, they're a bit like dogs, and dogs kind of accept humans, and maybe you just become part of the pack.
Well, wolves, I mean, all dogs are essentially from the wolf family. Like, and that's how...
That's what I mean. That's what maybe, like, why...
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. So he said anyway, one day I went into a cave and I started to play with wolf cubs that lived there, and I fell asleep. How did you fall asleep playing with wolves? Anyway, later the mother brought food for them, and I woke up. She saw me and looked fiercely at me. The wolves.
Look, well, while you're here, you can eat here.
Well, that's basically what happened. Yeah, the wolves started to rip the meat apart. A cub got close to me, and I tried to steal his food because I was hungry too. The mother pawed at me, and I backed off. After feeding her pup, she threw a piece of meat in my direction. I didn't want to touch it because I thought she was going to attack me. But she pushed the meat towards me with her nose. I ate it. And then I thought she was going to bite me, but she started to lick me. Am I boring you over there? I'm going to be on, yeah. After that, he said I was one of the family.
No, you're not bored. Why do people assume when you're yawning you're bored?
Well, I'm
not bored at all.
Oh, that's all right.
Sorry.
Anyway, go on. He said he also had a snake as a companion and had followed him around and shared food with him bit by bit. And he started to learn.
He had a snake as a companion?
A friend snake. And he said, like, he had other animal friends like foxes and deers and other types of animals. Right? There's a whole interesting article in the Guardian. But sadly,
you can imagine some of his wolf friends were like, "Hey, come here! Don't trust him. He's only a snake.
Yeah, he's a snake, little snake.
Don't trust him. He's dodge, pure dodge.
Yeah, don't believe a word he says. Eh? But the Guardian, and so there's a little bit of a sad part in it because when he comes back into society, he kind of doesn't really have a place anymore. And for a while, media were interested in him, and then he kind of like spent a lot of time kind of drinking.
And then he realised that there's more snakes in the human world than the animal kingdom.
Well, yeah.
No, but you know what? People are bastards. I'd say animals, at least you know what you get with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're a bastard.
Okay.
Sorry, Robert.
That's all right. Okay. But anyway, basically, it does get a little bit sad because he tried to integrate back into society and he kind of developed an alcohol problem, and then he was spent any money that he was given through like dole or whatever he was getting, and he was spending that on those fruit machines, you know, in
the gambling machines.
Gambling machines, yeah.
Oh, right.
So
where is he from again?
He's Spanish.
Spanish, all right.
Yeah, that's why it was so difficult for me to pronounce.
I'd love
his
to
name.
get a feral person on the show. Just
I'd love to just get a feral person. I was going to get a dog, but I decided I'd get like a boy who was raised by dogs. And, But he luckily enough he befriended an ex-policeman, and they moved kind of to a more solitudinal part of Spain. Solitude. Part of Spain, anyway, and he's kind of living a happier life now.
All right.
So the question remains: did he really communicate with the animals in the way he remembers it? So the idea, like fiction writers and stuff, would kind of like to say he did, but scientists question whether or not a human would ever be allowed to live really among them. So
they're questioning whether a story is true at all.
Well, no, they're just saying like, did he kind of live not amongst them but beside them? So like,
I know what you mean.
Following them around.
Is his memory of it different?
Because
how old was he when this?
12.
12. Yeah.
So
maybe he did just follow them around and think, but even he lived with them.
There's like people are kind of saying that maybe he kind of thought in his head that he was part of the pack, but he was just following them around and eating the scraps of food they left behind and stuff like that, you know. But maybe if you're that lonely, you just think that you're friends with them, you know.
That was still like he was still there in their company, like. Joe, we all have that mate that tags along, like, and no one really.
Yeah.
You know, like Mick. In fairness,
Mick,
yeah, he's good for the voiceover.
He is. That's all he's good for.
His company is diabolical.
He only all he ever talks about is us, like,
and his voice.
Our podcast.
Yeah.
So anyway, right. So the interview that I'm going to play today. There's a woman. Her name is Ruthie Bradshaw. She goes by the name Ruthie Doolittle. And she has a gift that allows her to communicate with the animals.
Telepathically, or
telepathically, yeah. So it's kind of the interview becomes self-explanatory.
Don't give away too much.
No, so continue to use your ears to listen, and we'll go to the interview. We'll come back after this. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'd prefer not to come back.
Okay, we'll just finish with this interview. All right.
I know we will. Yeah.
All right. See you in a minute.
Right.
So I've got Ruthie Bradshaw here on the line, and Ruthie has an amazing gift. Ruthie's able to communicate with animals. Hi, Ruthie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So do you want to start off by maybe telling me a little bit about your ability?
Of course, yes, absolutely. I can communicate using telepathy and heart-to-heart communication with all animals. I mean, I work mainly with cats, dogs and horses, but I have worked with farm animals, I've worked with exotic animals, rodents, birds, and my early indications that I could do this, that I had this gift, actually came from farm animals and wild animals, although I didn't know what it was at the time when I was a youngster.
Yeah, so how young were you when you started to hear the animals?
I'm not sure exactly how old, but because when I first got it, it was always a feeling rather than a voice in my head or a clear dialogue or a clear movie playing out in my mind. It was always feelings, and I had them, I mean, they became very strong from about the age of 8.
Okay, and so when you first kind of discovered this gift, like when you told people this, what was their reaction?
Well, I didn't really tell them exactly that I could communicate with animals. I just used to get very upset about things around animals when I was a small child. And then having gone to a all-girls convent Catholic school in Southern Ireland in the 90s, being a Protestant Brit, I didn't talk about that stuff because I was already the weird one.
Okay, yes.
And I knew that that would be absolutely, you know, I'd have been sent off to, probably I'd have been expelled actually, because in my school, you know, the Catholicism taught that they don't believe that animals have a soul.
Okay.
And I didn't agree with that. So I knew better than to cause trouble. I kept my mouth shut, but it was a real conflict in me. And I remember it being like a box, and I pushed the lid down on the box.
What about at home? What about home life, outside of school, with family and stuff like that? Did you share your thoughts with your family?
So I was very blessed that I grew up in a family where we were very open-minded. My parents raised us with growing our own vegetables and collecting our own firewood and quite earthy roots. And when an animal transitioned in our house, it was quite normal to talk about the cat shadows that would come and visit or the dog shadows. We, you know, that sort of thing wasn't scoffed at, so it was just kind of normal in my house to talk about that stuff, and I was the sensitive one, so that's how it was viewed.
Can we go back a little bit there? What do you mean by cat shadows and dog shadows?
Yeah, so, I mean, I grew up in a home where this was totally normal, and I've realised as I've got older that this isn't the mainstream, but when you feel a dog or a cat rubbing your legs and you look down and there's nothing there, or you think you see something out the corner of your eye that looks like the shadow of a cat, and you look and there's nothing there. I always liken this to the animals coming to visit after they've crossed the Rainbow Bridge. That's my logical explanation for it these days with what I know. But when we were growing up, we didn't even discuss what it was. It was just they were cat shadows or dog shadows, and it was a normal part of our family life. We had lots of pets over the years.
And these are like spirits of animals who've passed on. Is that kind of what you were saying? Okay. And the Rainbow Bridge, it's a nice way to put it. That's like doggy heaven or cat heaven or something like that?
Yeah, it's just a nice way to refer to when they die.
Okay. So when you speak to these animals, or when you hear these animals speak, do you talk in the animals, like the noise of a cat? Do you meow at the cat, or does the cat meow at you, or do you just telepathically do it?
Oh, that's a brilliant question, actually. So, actually, for years I always spoke to them in their language and got lots of responses back, but I didn't really understand what was happening. And as I developed my gift, actually, I hear their words in my head, as crazy as this sounds, their words in my head, but it's their words and it's their expression, but it's my voice.
Okay.
And then I have a dialogue with them in my mind. I mean, I say it's my gift. Everybody's born with this ability, but we are not raised in a way that encourages it, and it isn't, it's sort of viewed as a bit abstract or a bit witchy. And actually, we've all got these abilities. We've all got intuitive abilities within us, and as children, we're naturally very open, and become less so as we get more grown up.
Okay, so you reckon that maybe everybody has this ability, but we're just not tuning into it. Okay. So when you are, say, for instance, you're speaking with a dog and you're interpreting back and forth, it's in English, obviously, when you hear it in your voice, is it?
Yes, it is. I have communicated with animals that live abroad or have, have dual lingo families, that sort of thing. They always communicate in English, although when I was in Texas, all the horses were yowling on me. So they had... I was quite surprised. I was intrigued and surprised at the same time. But, yeah, I have noticed they have their own colloquialisms like we do, and that's what comes through when I'm communicating with them. So it's quite clear that it's not my wild imagination.
And is it all animals? Is it all animals that you can speak to? Like, for instance, like insects and butterflies and stuff like that. Can you communicate with those, or is it just more like mammals?
No, it is actually all animals, insects too.
And what does an insect have to say? What are they? What because for some reason I don't equate, I suppose, the same kind of, a cat and a dog. You kind of think a bit more about them, but you don't really think about it like a spider on your window as having a life in the same way,
No, and I understand that totally. In fact, I have been on this journey myself, with, becoming more and more aware. And actually, in my experience, the insects have a lot simpler messages. They don't have any of the hang-ups that our domestic animals have, cats and dogs that live with humans and are trying to work out their own stuff with human stuff. And depending on whether they've been rescued or what their pasts are, that adds further complexities to them. Insects are much simpler, they're completely free spirits, and they're not attached to living with humans.
Okay.
So they don't have that dependency. They also can go and feed themselves. They're not waiting for the master to feed them or anything like that. So they're a lot more simple in many ways, but they're also, I think, a lot more profound. So bees, for instance, bees are constantly talking to us about the sense of community and how humanity needs community to survive. And that bees they say humans have a lot to learn from us. Things like bees who live in a hive, every single bee has their own job.
Yeah.
We live in a world where people can multitask, they're multi-talented. The old days of traditional families where there were women doing women's work and men doing men's work, that doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't in first world countries. Women can work full-time, buy a house, raise a family, do all of those things, put up shelves. They can do all of that stuff on their own. Guys can cook and wash and clean. And so, the lines are blurred in many ways. And
how when you're getting this information from a bee, is it just basically you're sitting there and you can just hear what the bee is saying in your head and it's back and forth? Or is that basically just how it happens? You just kind of walk up to the hive and you can hear the conversation between them and you can kind of join the conversation, or how does that happen?
So, yeah, pretty much. And that's a very good question, actually. So there is a process to go through with opening up and connecting with animals, but some animals have got quite an urgent message, and they can read energy different to, their eyes are much different to ours, and they don't have all these limiting beliefs that filter stuff through perception. So they see things very differently. I mean, they can see a much wider spectrum of colour than us, and they can see energy much clearer than us. So they can read our aura, the energetic field around our body, all much, much clearer than we can. And so they will know if you're an open person or a communicator type person. So they might, for instance, come and land on me, or they might slow down what they're doing. They might just ignore me and carry on with what they're doing. So it's showing me that they're open to an interaction, and I wouldn't just rush in and say, "Hey, bees, tell me, what do I need to know?" I wouldn't walk up to a stranger and say, "Hello, tell me your deepest secret about spirituality," for instance. It's the same thing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
approach them with an open heart and be slow in my pace to let them know that I'm not a threat, and would then watch and wait and connect on a heart level. And then the dialogue would just start to flow. But they're not, in my experience, insects aren't really chatty like a lot of dogs and cats and horses have got an awful lot to say. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot slower pace. I mean, one of the messages from bees is that us humans are far too busy and we need to be more like them. Watch the bees, observe the bees, and be more. Not so caught up and distracted in our, highly technical, day-to-day, fast-paced life.
Okay. And when you say that they don't have the same kind of chattiness as a cat or a dog or a horse, what is the main thing a dog says to you? What is the dog? If a dog could talk to a human right now, what's on the top of the dog's agenda that they'd like humans to know?
Oh my goodness. It really depends on the dog and the circumstances. So because most of the animals that I work with are family pets or a dearly loved animal. So I've been asked to go and connect with them because the family either are curious, want to know more, get to know their animal, or they've got specific questions they want answered. But I always ask every animal, what would you like to share? And usually it's along the lines of how grateful they are for the kindness that they're being shown.
Okay.
And some sort of message. If I had to say what's the most common thing everybody says, it's, why do you worry so much?
Okay. Okay.
Because most animals are very, very present. They're not worrying about, what's going to happen next week? What will I wear? What meetings? How will I get to that meeting? What will Aunt Flo say? They're not worrying about this stuff. They're in the moment going, yeah, this is nice. This moment's lovely.
It seems like a nice way to live, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And we're very caught up in either, thinking about the past or the future and not actually enjoying this moment we've got, this gift of right now.
And how many pets or animals do you have yourself?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have 9. We have 2 rats. We have 4 cats, a bearded dragon, a dog, and I share a horse.
You share a horse. And when you're in the room with all these animals, is it like a busy conversation? Do you kind of have to do you have to shush them and say, hold on, I'm talking to the dog at the moment. Can you just give me a second? Or do they have their own problems? Do they have their own problems with each other that you need to kind of work out? Is it like a domestic family?
Yes, it is a domestic family. We have got problems within. We've got one cat who absolutely hates other cats, so she lives upstairs and outside. She doesn't interact with the other cats, and we've had to really work at that relationship with the other 3. See, they're mainly all rescues, so they've got their own stuff. They come with their own stuff.
Okay.
They don't all talk at once, but they can. In which case, it's like, guys, come on, one at a time. I can't hear you all. But generally, the animals that we share our home with, they'll come and seek us if they want to talk to us, or because then they can have that one-to-one time.
Yeah. Okay.
But other animals, if I go to a multi-animal household, and especially if they know I'm coming, so I've asked the family to let their animal know that, a bit of a different lady's coming to visit and it's perfectly okay to talk to me. Then in that case, I can arrive and they'll be like, well, I've got this to say and I want to go first and blah, 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 blah. And I have to say, guys, one at a time. And in that case, they will usually sort it out amongst themselves and then they'll get in some sort of order or some sort of line and queue up to talk to me. I've had this so many times, cats, dogs, horses.
Do they queue up in the voices or do they actually queue up in a line as the animals?
Physically queue up in a line. I've got pictures of these around me, dogs. It's happened many times. But, the talking, it's like, guys, one at a time. It's sort of like excited children. They're like, oh, my goodness, there's a lady here that can hear us. I'm going first, blah, 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 blah. So I have to say, one at a time. And the thing is, I work in person and I also work online. So yesterday I was working online with one dog, but he lived in a house with 3 dogs. And the lady asked me this question. She said, similar question what you've asked. She said, how is it with the other dogs? And I said, well, I've connected with your dog. And it's a bit like a frame. I've got boundaries around this. These are communication that we're having. And I have invited them to be aware that they know what's going on and they would like to come and join in. At the moment, her Great Dane puppy came and literally licked the camera. And just to let us know that, he really wants to have a chat as well. So it wasn't his session yesterday. So, I really try and honour what I've been asked to do and give the animal that time when we connect. But other animals around are curious and, they often have something they want to say as well.
Well, it's fascinating. I just have one more question. When you say you've spoken to horses, and I always often wondered this, when you look at horse racing and stuff like that, do horses enjoy racing with someone on their back, or is that something they're forced to do?
So they actually quite enjoy riding. They are not so keen on some of the practices that we see in modern horsemanship, and there's a big movement towards natural horsemanship, which the horses absolutely thrive under. A lot of the training, not just with horses, but with animals around the world, has come through dominance and fear-based training.
Right.
And you see that particularly with domestication of things like animals and, wild animals in circuses, that sort of thing. You see that very much is dominance training. And training has moved on. I mean, even in the dog world, training has moved on. It used to all be about dominance and you've got to be the boss with your dog and you've got to put your dog down and, really be very strong and firm with it. And actually there's a big change in dog training world as new theories have come to light, and actually positive reinforcement is much, much more beneficial and doesn't present the challenges that come with fear-based training, because it doesn't always work. And breaking an animal's spirit isn't actually a very nice way to go about working in a two-way relationship with them. So it's quite controversial, actually. Because there's a big movement of people that have been brought up with more old-fashioned ways, and I'm not saying that they're not kind, because they may well have an enormous kind heart. They're doing what they know and what they've been trained to do, but there are many different ways to approach training animals these days that doesn't involve a harsh bit in the mouth. It doesn't involve sticks or dominance or electric collars, or there's lots of things that have moved on, and we've seen this over hundreds of years of training, especially dogs, that actually, if it's done badly, you can end up with a real problematic animal on your hands. And even if it's done well, the animal is constantly in submission, which is basically them fearing for their life because they might do something wrong. And no, I don't think any living being should experience that.
No, well, I'm in total agreement with you there. So, Ruthie, I'm going to let you go now, but before we go, if people wanted to get in contact with you, how do they go about doing that?
So I'm available on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. My handle is at Ruthie Doolittle. I'll spell that RUTHYDOOLITTLE on Facebook, on Twitter, and on my website. I always offer anybody interested in working with me a complimentary call over a cup of tea for 30 minutes, and you can book that through my website. All my links are all over social media, and we can have a chat about the possibilities of working together. I'd love to hear from anybody who's interested about exploring this further.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating. And do you always do it in person, or do you do it over the phone, or does it have to be in person?
No, it doesn't have to be in person at all. This is what's so amazing about it. So a lot of my clients have been across the globe, Australia, America, on the continent. So I work on Zoom, which is like an online video conferencing software that is very simple to use.
Okay.
I do visit people locally. Of course, the more that I'm on the road, the less that I'm available to connect more people with their animals, and I'm really on a mission to connect millions of hearts around the world and raise the vibration of love through sharing these lovely connections with people.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic message, and thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
Okay, so that was my interview with Ruthie Doolittle Bradshaw.
It was. Do you want to give out her Instagram there?
Yeah, so sorry about that. There was a little bit of the phone call there where you kind of missed a bit of the information. So just at the end when she was giving her details out. So her name is, on Instagram, is Ruthie, Ruthy, and then Doolittle, Doolittle.
And people, I suppose, can contact her. The whole thing is if you want to see how your animal's feeling and you don't know.
Or if you've got, I suppose, an animal, because I think there was depression and stuff is real in dogs and stuff like that. So maybe, because they do, I know they do, like...
Don't Americans have, like, dog antidepressants?
There is Valium for dogs and stuff. And I suppose maybe if you didn't want to give your dog Valium, if you wanted to get Ruthie in to talk to...
Might be able to give therapy.
Well, she might, exactly, yeah. But like, rather than just medicate them, you know?
Ruthie, she actually seems like a really lovely, nice woman.
Yeah, I think she really loves animals. I think she seems like she's got a good spirit for animals.
Obviously, like, you know, you can come at it like I'm a bit skeptical in the case of, because it is something that obviously is hard to believe.
Yeah, of course.
And I think, you know, when she went to school in Ireland, she kind of felt like, you know, a bit of an outsider being a Protestant or whatever, and in the school they thought that animals didn't have a soul, and she kind of felt like she pushed that down. Was it maybe that she was a bit lonely in school and that was kind of a way to...
Yeah,
I don't know.
Her reasoning for it is that everybody has the ability to do this, and she grew up, luckily, she said, in a family where it was encouraged to kind of be open and talk, and you know, I
definitely believe some people can have more of a connection with animals where you can feel more. Like, it's easy to tell if a dog is upset or scared or...
Well, that's what we said at the start. A dog can kind of read you, and maybe if you give enough time, like, you know, there's the whole stories about, like, you know, the Navajo, you know, the Indians, like, or the Native Americans, they seem to have a real connection with animals and wolves and stuff like that, and they used to kind of nearly communicate through... with the animals. And I don't know, maybe it's a thing that has been lost through time because we're so busy
on our phones
and everything like that. You don't know, though. You know what I mean?
I know. I love the whole thing with the insects being free spirited. Like, you know, I just had this image of these insects just really easy going. Like,
just hippie insects.
Yeah,
whatever, man.
Yeah. We are doing our own thing. I don't know why.
What is he, an Indian, is he? We are doing our own thing.
Yeah. But, look, I don't know.
Exactly, but I don't think... She seems like she's a good, nice person who's kind of doing... I don't
know what she was on about communicating with bees there. Does she just go up to the hive and say, what's the buzz?
That's what I was saying. Yeah, what's the buzz? Yeah. What's the buzz, guys? What's happening? Tell me what's the story. But,
insects aren't as chatty.
Yeah. They're just kind of a bit more chill, isn't that what she said?
That was funny, the animals queue up to talk to her as well. But look, however you feel about it, that's, you know, your own thing. And people might be interested in exploring it, like, and getting on to
Absolutely, but look, I think, and it seems to be a thing that she's got clients and stuff around the world that deal with it, so it must be something that people are... See, I don't know, you've got animals, don't you?
You have a cat, I have a dog.
Yeah, well, I don't have a cat. That's my mother's cat.
All right.
I don't particularly...
I don't like cats.
I'm not a big cat fan.
I hate cats.
They're a bit...
I'm afraid of cats.
Do you know what they're nice? Kittens can be kind of nice, right? When they're babies and they're playful and all that. But once they kind of they go through, like, they're like adults, become, you know, less interested in...
See, cats are very... They don't show affection like dogs do.
Only when they want food.
They do their own thing, and I don't know. I don't like them at
independent.
all.
If they do their own thing, why don't they just get their own house?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Get
get your own gaff.
Speaking of training animals and stuff, which she talked about there, she doesn't believe in some of the
methods
that people training. I watched a very good documentary the last night. I'm just gonna throw it out there because it is on YouTube for anyone who wants to watch it.
Yep.
It's called Cat Dancers,
right?
And it's about a couple who. They were ballet dancers, very professional ballet dancers, and then they introduced exotic animals into their stage show. Like, you'd be familiar with can't think of their names in Las Vegas, with the two.
Oh, the guys with the hair.
The two.
It'll come back to me. Go on. Yeah.
But this is basically
Leroy
and Brown, something like that. Yeah, I can't think of their names.
Okay,
it doesn't matter. Robin Rats or something.
Yeah.
But no, Cat Dancers on YouTube. Definitely check it out because it is one of them. They bring exotic animals into their... It's an interesting story. Your man is... The guy from it is in the documentary. But Siegfried and Roy, that's it. Yeah. But it actually... The documentary has, as you can imagine, a kind of traumatic end. But
oh, really?
Yeah, it's definitely... It's worth watching.
What's it called?
Cat Dancers. It's on YouTube. Check it out. Check it out.
Check it out. Have a look.
Check it out.
Check it out. Let us know what you think. Yeah. And if let us know what you think about Ruthie and stuff like that as well. You can get in contact with us on our Instagram page, Rob Rat Podcast.
Yeah, we didn't actually give it out today.
No, we're giving out a lot. I just think once is probably enough,
people know. It's Rob Rat Podcast.
Yeah.
On
That's it,
all
platforms. All platforms.
Yeah.
Just go and have a look and talk to us if you want. So what I've got here now is just some interesting animal facts, right? I know, yeah. Jesus, come on, will you shut up, will you? Yeah, I know some interesting, but like it's some more like interesting animal facts like that you may not have known previously.
Yeah,
you may have known them, and if you know them, just pretend you don't.
Yeah.
Really? That's amazing. Yeah. So
come on.
Yeah, I know. So right. So flamingos, right?
Yeah.
So they're not actually pink.
Yeah.
They're born grey, but their diet of shrimp and algae contains a natural pink dye called xanthanaxanin that makes their feathers pink. So flamingos in zoos often used to lose their colouring because people weren't aware of this. So then zookeepers have supplemented their diets with the stuff that they eat in the wild, and they get their pink colouring back.
What they could do is just give them
pink food colouring.
That's what I was going to say. Give them whatever they want.
Or dye their hair. Yeah,
dye their hair.
But that's what the colouring comes from, just from eating so much.
That is interesting,
isn't it? There you go. That is interesting.
Do you know what I realised?
If you eat loads of carrots, you can go orange. You know that. If you eat nothing but carrots.
Yeah, and carrot juice and Sunny D. I noticed. I say that's it. That's interesting on this podcast a lot.
Well, it's an interesting podcast. You know what I mean? It's very interesting. I just think it in my head, but
it is interesting.
So dolphins, they use toxic pufferfish to get high. So dolphins deliberately handle pufferfish, causing them to release with the head touch.
Flipper.
Right? They flipper pufferfish, causing them to release toxins as a defense mechanism. These toxins can be deadly in high doses, but also have a narcotic effect and are a powerful hallucinogenic, which dolphins appear to enjoy. A documentary witnessed them passing around the pufferfish in a pod before floating just underneath the water surface, apparently mesmerised by their own reflections in the water.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
they're
tripping out. And a bit more about the pufferfish. It contains a toxin that is up to 1,200 times more deadly than cyanide to humans.
God.
There's enough toxin in one pufferfish to kill 30 adult humans.
God.
And there's no known antidote. Amazingly,
that's scary.
Yeah, despite this,
has a pufferfish ever killed a human?
Well,
I wonder.
Well, listen, right. Despite this, some pufferfish meat is considered a delicacy in Japan. The meat is called fugu, and it's very expensive. And
wasn't that covered? Sorry to interrupt.
In The Simpsons.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what they're talking about.
Oh yeah.
So, but it's very expensive, and the chefs need to have 3 years of rigorous training to remove the toxic parts of the meat so the diners can eat it.
That's kind of like
you're playing with fire a bit there,
it's
aren't
a bit
you?
of a Russian roulette,
isn't it? Would you not just have the salmon
of catering? Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I was actually at a wedding where it was beef pufferfish. Or salmon or pufferfish.
Yeah. The groom was trying to get out of the bar. John, give me the pufferfish.
Yeah.
So the world's most deadly animal. What do you think it is?
Your cat. Your man's cat.
Yeah. Right. The most deadly animal isn't a shark. It's not a bear or a tiger. It's something far smaller. A mosquito.
Mosquito. Okay.
A mosquito. According to the World Health Organization. Yeah. They do. Oh, they do. Mosquitoes suck. Wow.
Yeah.
725,000 people are killed each year from mosquito-borne diseases. 725,000 people.
I suppose from being transferred
diseases, such as malaria, dengue fever, and yellow fever. They outnumber every other animal in the world, apart from ants and termites, and they can be found in nearly every part of the world.
They outnumber ants?
No, except for ants and termites. They outnumber every other animal.
Okay.
Another fact: bats. The fruit bat can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes in a day. So he's.
Well, that's good. They're kind of fighting the cause there.
Yeah, they're helping us out. A lot of people don't like bats, but they are doing pretty good stuff there.
I don't mind bats at all. They're really cool.
Yeah, so there are more than 1.4 billion insects for each human on the planet. So we're way outnumbered by insects.
And they're very free-spirited.
They're very free-spirited,
They've good energy.
But if they decided to get together, we'd be in a bit of bother. Like, the only thing is...
And take over.
Yeah. So the shortest living animal in the world is the mayfly. Its entire lifespan.
How short is it?
24 hours.
Oh, right.
24 hours. That's all it lives. So the mayfly is born, it reproduces, and then dies during a day. And some species of mayfly only live for 8 to 10 hours.
I can imagine Ruthie maybe having a session with some guy going.
I was bored. I've got a day to live. Like.
Chatting to a mayfly, right?
Yeah.
And Ruthie saying, "Look, have you got any payments?" Him going, "I'll get you tomorrow."
I'll get
she's
you
like,
tomorrow. Yes, very good. Yeah. Roosters, right? They prevent themselves from going deaf due to their own loud crowing by tilting their heads back when they crow, which covers their ear canal completely. It's like a built-in earplug.
Oh, so they can cover their ears, but everyone else
they tilt the head back and they go, "Caw-caw." Do an old rooster. Can you do one?
What is a rooster?
I was going to do a caw-caw, but that's not it.
That's not a
caw-caw!
rooster.
That's it, kind of, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
A study showed that their
Is there anyone else in the studio?
no, their average is of over 100 decibels loud, which is roughly the same as a chainsaw. The noise.
God.
Yeah, so they probably would go deaf.
There are cool like animals out there. Do you know what I mean? I had a budgie for.
Oh yeah.
For I got him when I was 10. He passed away when I was 22.
They had 12-year-old.
No, sorry, I'm wrong. He was 17 years old. I was 27 when he died.
You okay?
But, I'm fine. Yeah, I've gotten over it. No, but he was cool, Oscar. He was
Oscar.
cool. But he used to like. I kept his cage open quite a bit.
Yeah.
But he'd come out, fly, land on my shoulder, and I know he was a cool bird.
Birds are cool enough, yeah.
But I suppose I felt bad in the way that he was, living in a cage, and they are.
But if you left the cage open, he's just basically living.
Yeah,
in
but
a
he
house.
didn't come out. He was kind of towards the end. I think he was a bit institutionalized.
So, wow, yeah. So little is known about the elusive giant squid. However, the largest squid ever found measured over 50 feet and weighed nearly a ton. So to put that into perspective, that's bigger than a bus.
God.
So that's a squid. You don't know what's in that water down there, really. And
What water?
The water, like the ocean.
The old water.
The old water.
You don't
there.
know what's down
No,
there.
you don't know what's down
That's
drop
why,
old water.
I don't. Yeah, fair enough going for a swim in the pool or whatever, but like swimming out in the open ocean is kind of especially if you're in another country. I actually went scuba diving in Egypt.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool, but as well I was a bit terrified, because like seeing cool fish in that. But there can be sharks in them waters and stuff. So yeah, it's terrifying enough. Like,
What did you go to the pyramids when you were in Egypt?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you'd want to, I suppose.
Well, you're never there. No?
I was never in Egypt. No.
Pyramids are cool, but the only thing is, a lot of people had warned me going that people who had been there in the pyramids, there were guys there who want to sell souvenirs and bits, but they literally folly around, kind of harass it. It's the worst ever I've ever been for a place.
They're in the pyramid.
No, they're around the pyramid.
Can you get into the
when
pyramids?
tourists get off the boat? There's some of the smaller ones you can go into. They don't allow tourists into the bigger ones anymore. I tried to bring home a piece of one of the bigger pyramids, just like a rock.
Just pick it up, yeah.
And
get stopped.
I know I threw it away in the airport. I got paranoid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Shut up your bum.
Oh, jeez. Still up there.
Yeah. Actually, when I was in Australia, I know, but like I was doing surfing lessons, right? And I was trying to learn to surf properly. Well, that's the lessons, trying to, Well, I was a pro surfer when I went for lessons to show off. So I was out there in the water. And next thing, the shark alarm goes off on the beach. It's like, woo, woo. And everyone's just getting out of the water, and I'm fucking sitting on the board trying to get in. And a helicopter's flying over the top, and guys are going out in jet skis trying to figure out what it is. But a big great white shark was out in the water.
God.
Yeah.
But did no one call you in or whatever?
An alarm, and everyone just start waving you in. So everyone had to get out of the water. But I didn't want to get into the water, so I'm on the board trying to paddle my way in without getting out into the water. You know what I mean?
I would have just jumped in and got. Were you far out?
I was a bit out. You're trying to catch a wave, so you're out behind the break of the wave.
Yeah.
You know.
Gee, that's frightening.
And then what they do is they go out in the helicopter's trying to spot them, and then the guys in the jet skis basically go out and try and scare them off.
Funnily enough, I was actually looking up shark attack survivors. I thought it'd be cool to get one on for a future episode.
Yeah. I actually have a bit about that coming up. I have some information on shark attacks, yeah.
Bit of fucking telepathy going on here.
There is, we're in connection, hey. Right, a blue whale, right? The tongue of a blue whale can weigh as much as a car.
Their heart is the size of a car, isn't it?
Well, I think the tongue is, anyway, that's what information I've got. Or a small adult elephant, right?
Yeah, God.
So it can weigh 2.7 tons.
It's the biggest living creature.
Yeah, it is, on
Earth.
Yeah, they reckon it ever was, And speaking of baby elephants suck their trunks for comfort. Baby elephants.
Oh, right.
So just like babies and children sucking their thumbs.
Yeah.
The fastest land animal?
Cheetah.
The cheetah, right? But I knew it was fast, right? But it can reach speeds up to 75 miles an hour or 120 kilometres an hour. That's the speed you can go on on a motorway in Ireland.
Imagine one of them chasing.
Just cheetah just flying up beside you. Now I think they can only do it for a certain amount of time. You know, they get wrecked. But geez, that's still some speed. The peregrine falcon is the fastest bird with a diving speed of 242 miles an hour.
Peregrine falcon, yeah.
And then the black marlin is the fastest sea animal at 130k. Only 5% of cheetah cubs actually survive to adulthood.
Why is that?
Because they just get killed by lions and other predators and disease and stuff. They don't really make it. It's tough going on the old cheetahs, you know.
Jeez.
This is an interesting one, right? The Dementor wasp, right?
Demented wasp?
The Dementor.
Okay.
Dementor,
what is a Dementor wasp?
A Dementor wasp is a type of wasp, right? But it paralyzes cockroaches with venom. So it sticks the stinger into the venom into the cockroach's head. And it basically turns them into kind of like a zombie-like state. And the toxins leave the cockroach unable to control its own movements, which incredibly makes it run into the wasp nest to meet its demise. And then the venom cuts into the brain activity, making cockroaches kind of like their sense of fear and stuff like goes away. And then the Dementor wasp will lay eggs on the inside the cockroach to act as an incubator for its young. And then the cockroach will walk around kind of mad, and then then the young wake up and crash out and break out through the cockroach.
That is like something out of a severe horror film.
But like that's one of the things where people like question like God, what the hell are you at there? Like, you know, see that kind of days he having where he's going like, I'm going to make this cockroach and then I'm going to make a wasp that can like stick.
Yeah.
You know, it's cruel. It's cruel. Yeah,
it is cruel.
Half of all the pigs in the world are kept by farmers in China.
Really?
Half of all the pigs in the world. There are over 440 million pigs in China.
Pigs will eat anything. Like, they'll even eat bone, won't they?
That's in that film Snatch, isn't it?
I didn't see Snatch.
No.
No.
Okay, well, the guy on about how long it'd take, I guess, a bunch of pigs to get rid of a human body.
Yeah, but they would eat. I think
they eat everything. They go through it all. Yeah, they reckon you want to pull the fingernails and the hair off first rather than pulling it out of the pig poo afterwards. It's better to get rid of if you're trying to get rid of a body.
Jeez, you sound a bit too fucking, a bit too educated in this matter.
So great white sharks, right, can detect a drop of blood in 25 gallons of water. It's 100 litres. And it can sense tiny amounts of blood from 3 miles away.
That's frightening. Like, you wouldn't want to be going swimming if you had a cut in your knee.
No, but it's 3 miles away. They can sense it, and they just start coming for you. Like, what's that blood? It's gone. Yeah,
like that iconic music from the Jaws movies.
Yeah.
The rift of.
Your man actually feels very bad about that. I read it somewhere that like he feels really bad because like loads of sharks, like he really put a fear of sharks into the nation.
Oh, he did, yeah.
And like the sharks have been culled, and there's been like, you know, they've been given this bad name because not all sharks are out there eating people. You know, it's how often do people actually get eaten? Not that often.
Yeah. Don't paint them all with the same brush.
Yeah, pretty much. This is the last fact I have, right?
Thank God.
The male seahorse goes through pregnancy
I know
gives
that,
birth to babies. That's when you know,
cool,
isn't it? So the only animal on earth that the male carries the baby rather than the female. The male seahorse has a pouch on his stomach to carry babies at as much as 2,000 at a time.
That is cool. Do you ever see them giving birth?
No.
I have, yeah. It's kind of like, no, they just literally squirt them out. I think they're...
Bum.
I don't think it's their bum or their... I want to say beak.
Go on, say beak.
But I'm pretty sure. You know what? If we can find it, I'd love to
we'll have
put
a
a video
We'll have a look, yeah.
Seahorse male giving birth. That is going to be exclusive. Check out our Instagram.
Yeah, we're going to find.
Facebook.
We'll have an interview with a seahorse after he's given birth.
Yeah, no, we're going to find a seahorse giving birth.
Sorry, I actually do have some more facts.
I know, go on. I'm liking
so there's
this.
an average of
I'm learning.
Every acre, right? You know, an acre.
Acorn.
An acre, a green like area. Yeah. So there's an average, if it's green, like if it's a greenery field or whatever, there's an average of 50,000 spiders.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's a reaction. Yeah, 50,000, like, you wouldn't think it. That's a lot.
Yeah. They're getting a lot bigger in Ireland, I know.
Spiders, they seem to be, they seem to be getting bigger. There's more of them. Like there are.
Have you a fear of spiders? Or?
No, I don't mind them at all.
If there was one here in the room, a big one, would you mind?
No, I've held spiders and handled spiders. I don't
Where
mind.
in Australia?
Well, in Australia, no, because they'll kill you. But I've had a tarantula in my hand and stuff before.
Where?
In a pet shop.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd never hold one. Did you ask to hold it?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to have a pet snake as well.
Did you?
Yeah, Matilda was her name. It got given to me. She was like a...
By who?
A guy. I used to work in Woody's, which is like a DIY kind of garden centre. There's a guy there. Aaron was his name. He was from England. He was moving back, and he was moving away from Ireland. And he had a snake, and I had been in his house a couple of times and picked it up and liked it. And he gave me the snake
because he couldn't mind it.
He couldn't bring it with him. So
and what happened to the snake?
I had it for about 5 years, and then I gave it to my friend Craig Nocton. Okay. And then Craig had a baby and didn't think it'd be safe to have a snake in the house with the baby, and he gave it away. I don't know what happened to her then.
I checked it out with Craig. Yeah. Where is that snake now?
Craig ate it. Yeah. So right, you got what? You just a dog you have? You have any other pets?
I just have a dog. I used to have a budgie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What's the dog called?
Chase.
Chase. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. No, I've met the dog before. It's like hyper enough little animal, isn't it?
Yeah, they're annoying. Like it's a Bichon Frise.
Is it a Bichon Frise? What's the difference? Is that just a Bichon Frise that you put an A on the end of it?
That's actually how you pronounce it. Bichon Frise.
Oh, okay.
But he's quite annoying. I studded him out twice.
You what?
Studded him out.
Oh, right. I stood on a mouse.
Twice. No, I studded him out. He's got two.
You put him up for stud?
I put him up for stud on the website. I made €600 off him.
And did you have to extract the semen from him himself, or do you just let him have sex?
Yeah, I just gave him a little hand shandy. No. I didn't. I kind of researched it just a little bit.
Well, he's a purebred, is he?
He is a purebred, and that's why we got him neutered because I think they can.
You got him neutered after you.
No, after he had the kids. But apparently, when they're horny or whatever, they can get a bit vicious. So I decided
Can't
to get neutered.
Can't we all?
Yeah. Yeah. Is that why you're a bit off?
That's
No, but
that's why I'm not aggressive.
yeah. But apparently, before you get them neutered, it's good for them to have a go or two first,
Right, just to get it out of the system.
experience. But I decided to stud him out, and he's.
And how much you charge? 600. How much did the dog cost?
I had a contract for who came. I typed up a contract. So
Right.
basically, it was 100 euros.
You made up a contract.
It was 100 euros up front.
Yeah.
And then if the dog kept the pups, then they'd pay the remaining money.
Oh, okay, yeah,
so,
yeah.
But no, it was good. And he, fathered 2 pups from it. I only wanted to know families.
And does he still have contact with them? He just sees them every second weekend now, or what?
He sees them every second weekend now. He's fallen out with one of the women, though. She's a bit difficult.
She's a bitch.
yeah. But funnily enough, right?
Do you get that, yeah?
Yeah, a female dog.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
funny story. When your man came, the first guy with his pup dog to have intercourse with my dog.
Yeah, doggy sex.
Yeah, they were out the back.
Doggy style.
They were out the back having sex. Anyway, this is the first time. Straight away, as soon as the dog bitch, she was in heat. He was fairly
Up for it.
aroused. Like
Yeah.
he was well up for it. Like. They were out the back anyway, and once they started going out, not long after.
Are you just watching it like?
Oh, I was watching it. Yeah, just
Just sitting there with a cup of tea watching the dog have sex.
But like, I suppose I wanted to make
That's my boy.
Your man wanted
A
it.
tear running down your eye.
No, yeah. That's my boy. No. But okay, right. They were having intercourse anyway, the dogs,
Yeah.
and I didn't read it. She started howling, crying.
Yeah.
And then she went to kind of move away, and he turned. They were back to back, and she couldn't get away. They were stuck together.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that happens?
No.
Yeah, I didn't know that happens. I thought there was something wrong.
Right.
I was like, because she was crying and they couldn't. He was walking and kind of pulling her along
Right.
because they were stuck,
Right,
bum to
yeah.
bum. But apparently,
Bum to bum.
Yeah, well, he'd actually turned, but his willy was still
Jesus.
there. But
You think it'd be him that'd be
I
crying?
actually rang a neighbour of mine who's a vet, and I was like, "Man, I've got
Get
this
out
dog." I
there.
explained the situation. He said, "Oh yeah, that does happen." And there's probably listeners who are aware that dogs, when they are in heat,
There's probably people who will watch the dogs having sex. I don't know.
no, but when they are doing that, when they're having dogs do stick
Right.
until they're finished or whatever, and
Okay.
then they
They
come
stick out,
apart.
yeah, right.
It's called. I don't know what it's called, but
It's called sex
Yeah,
between
yeah.
animals. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know cats have like a barbed kind of penis or something. That's why you all hear like
I actually have one of them.
a cat or a barbed penis.
Barbed penis.
I've just got a cat.
Yeah.
So the most back to this.
That's why it
crack
hurts
anyway.
my hand when I.
Oh yeah, it's covered in cuts all there. You got to use those chainmail gloves. Yeah. So the most popular pets in the world, right?
That was the news. That's right.
The most popular pets in the world is actually the most pets is fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they're boring.
Yeah, but I suppose because actually the most popular thing in the world is a dog as a pet to have. But because if you have a house, you might have a tank with like loads of fish. So there's more pet fish than there are anything.
Yeah. I'd made mine had turpins. You know, they're a type of turtle.
Yeah, the small little guys.
And one killed the other. But no, they're big. They grow to be quite big turpins. You're thinking of turtles, like little turtles. But I know turtles grow to be big as well. But a turpin is a species of turtle.
It's a miniature little guy, isn't it?
No, I think I'm right here. But look, some kind of turtles anyway. They're about the size of my hand.
Yeah.
And one of them killed the other one. Vicious. But I remember it was Jordan Bertie. But he used to clean the tank. You know, you take out.
Yeah,
the
it gets
turtle.
kind of greeny.
Yeah,
and
and you'd
doesn't it?
clean it out however you
yeah.
used to. But the turtle he had, like when you go to take him out, he'd be vicious as
Yeah.
anything. Like I used
Snapping
to
at them, yeah.
snapping away. But
My
anyway.
mate Ronan Mataig had 2 turtles, and one kind of started to grow bigger than the other one, and he was all right.
Did he kill the other one?
The other one just had like a soft shell. It was a bit sick.
Oh.
And we were actually going to a electric picnic there, and
Is this recent?
this was recently enough. Yeah, he got a phone call from his mother. And
he
we're
passed
in the
away.
queue, yeah. I just say, look, I just want to let you know that we woke up, one of them is dead. And he was actually kind of happy enough because that turtle had been suffering for a
I
while.
was thinking Ronan would have been like,
I'm going to have to go.
Lads, I have to go.
Yeah, no, he was just saying, look, he was suffering, so he decided to.
When we spoke about me having a budgie, I had a budgie, he died when I was about 27. But I was out doing a bit of work for a friend.
You were not.
I was, yeah. And my phone rang, and it was my dad on the phone. And Dad said, there's been a death. And I was like, instantly I thought, my mum is dead, or my Aunt Mary.
Yeah.
I've no Aunt Mary, but for him to ring me and just go, there's been a death. And then he waited, like.
Yeah,
I was
just
like-
see your reaction.
I was like, what's going on? And he goes, Oscar
Probably-
died.
yeah.
That was the name of the budgie, but what a way to call me.
He's
Like.
probably trying to pay you back for all the years. I'm going to make him suffer.
Yeah. For years of it.
So anyway, look, I got some stories here about animals kind of helping people.
Okay.
Okay?
Like the dog who, gave the farmer's wife the notice. That
Oh, yes, sorry. I forgot. gave the farmer's wife. He started trying to help the farmer's wife. While the farmer was out, he used to keep the wife company.
Yeah.
Hop into the bed. Anyway, right, so when a great white shark attacked a surfer called Ted Edris in the Pacific Ocean and suddenly mauled his back and right leg, an entire pod of bottlenose dolphins formed a protective ring around him.
Really?
So he could make it to shore and end up saving his life. Yeah.
That's mad.
Isn't it? Yeah. In June of 1974, a 62-year-old woman named Calandria Vinaluna Velas, or whatever the feck it is.
Say it again?
No. She was shipwrecked and she was rescued by a giant sea turtle. The Philippine Navy published an official account, and the ship...
she was rescued, excuse me, she was rescued.
By a giant sea turtle. So this is like the Philippine Navy actually published this in an official account. So they pulled her from the water and witnessed that she was essentially on board a sea turtle prior to being rescued. And when she initially was stranded at sea, the woman saw the turtle approach her and she grabbed onto its shell. The turtle then swam for 2 days, never diving for food. It went hungry in order to save her. The crew of the rescuing ship thought she was clinging to an oil drum at first.
Is there any photographs?
Until they witnessed the object circled 3 times and then they hauled her on board.
Is there photographs?
Then the thing died down. I don't know, I haven't really looked. I'll have a look. I'll probably find something somewhere, yeah.
That sounds
Isn't
mad.
It? Now, these next kind of stories, this is kind of like, so these are all kind of a bit connected. So there was a 3-year-old boy who accidentally fell into a gorilla enclosure in Chicago's Brookfield Zoo and became unconscious.
This is really cool. Go on.
Okay. Thanks very much. So, enclosure in Chicago's Brookfield Zoo, and she became unconscious. And the gorilla, a female gorilla named Bintu Jua, picked him up and held him quite gently close to her to protect her from the other gorillas until the zookeepers could rescue him.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm not sure if it's the same story.
I got 3 gorilla stories. So
okay, go on.
Maybe one of them.
No, go on.
Yeah. So in 1986,
go on,
boy. In 1986, Jambo, a male silverback gorilla, saved a young boy named Levan Merritt when he fell 12 feet into the concrete slab in the gorilla enclosure in Jersey Zoo, cracking his skull and falling unconscious.
Oh, God.
Although male silverbacks are usually thought to be incredibly hostile, Jambo stood guard over the boy, placing him between him and the other gorillas. He later stroked the unconscious boy's back and led the other gorillas away into the enclosure when the boy gained consciousness, allowing for the rescue and the emergency team to take him.
That's really cool. And actually... check out the Facebook and Instagram because we will share this footage of that online. I remember seeing it, so we'll share that. It's cool. And
there's one now. This isn't such a nice one, right?
I know what you're going to say. The lion. Is this?
No, this is another gorilla one. So on May 28, 2016, a 3-year-old boy visiting Cincinnati Zoo fell into the moat of the Gorilla World habitat. The witnesses say they heard the child say he wanted to go into the gorilla enclosure.
No.
I know. Well, look. The boy then climbed a 3-foot-tall fence, crawled through 4 feet of bushes, and then fell 15 feet into a moat of shallow water. Zoo officials immediately signaled for the gorillas to go into the habitat, the 3 of them. But 2 of the females did. However, the 3rd gorilla, an inquisitive 440-pound male silverback, Harambe, climbed down into the moat to investigate the child splashing in the water. Over the next 10 minutes, Harambe became increasingly agitated and disorientated by the screams of the onlookers. He dragged the child through the water, occasionally propping him up when he sat and pushing him down when he stood up. Harambe's excited, strutting behaviour, walking around with his legs and arms stiffly extended to make himself look bigger, a move that they used to kind of bluff in nature to make himself look big, which kind of like when there's a danger about.
Yeah.
So anyway, Harambe then carried the boy up a ladder onto dry land. Afraid for the boy's life, the zoo officials made the decision to kill the gorilla, doing so with a single rifle shot. Cincinnati firefighters said that the boy was between Harambe's legs when the shot was fired. Harambe was killed 1 day after his 17th birthday.
But come here, was the boy all right?
The boy was okay.
Now, I feel sorry for that gorilla because it wasn't his fault either, but I'm glad that's how that story ended because I didn't know where it was
well, that's how it was. The big thing about it was on the news and stuff, so the people were saying, like, where were the parents to allow that to happen? But anyway, they took their eye off him for 1 second and he was an inquisitive little boy.
But come on now, 1 second.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so but he went in, but people were giving out that, like, they, you know, because obviously the last 2 stories before that were gorillas kind of being nice to people who fell into the enclosures, and they're saying that Harambe wasn't necessarily showing enough aggressive behaviour, but they just weren't going to take a risk and they shot him.
Really
but he's 17 years. He'd be 17 the day before.
Yeah. There's other ones as well. Like, and I've seen videos which are not very nice. But guys, have you seen the people going into the lion enclosures? And but I know they saw one where the lion wasn't shot. It ended with your man becoming lunch. Well,
actually, there was a story years ago I think it was in Castlebar, where there was a guy who was drunk.
Okay.
And maybe it wasn't. Maybe someone told me. Maybe this was what I've been told. Maybe it was a kid, right? But apparently he went into there was a circus and there was lions, and the guy was drunk and he went into the kind of enclosure when people were around at night time on his way home, and he put an arm into the cage and it grabbed his arm, and he put his other hand in to try and push the lion away, and another lion grabbed his other arm and ripped his 2 arms off.
And who was this guy?
I don't know. You know your man with no arms and down?
Oh, him.
Lion bar, no arms.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what. I just remember hearing that story years ago.
Handy Mick.
Handy Mick, yeah. He's not so handy now.
Yeah. Not our Mick now.
He never waves at me anymore.
Yeah. He's gotten his odd.
Well, look, that kind of concludes all my animal information and all my stuff for today.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I'd love in the future to get a feral person on.
We'll do, yeah.
And one of your, funnily enough, right, that concludes today's episode, I presume.
Yeah, that's it.
And next week, one of your stories there, you talked about a woman who was shipwrecked. Was it shipwrecked?
She was living on. She was on the back of a turtle there for 2 days.
Yeah, but how did she end up on the back of a turtle?
The ship went down. Yeah.
And next week, funnily enough, we're talking to a guy.
Who is a turtle?
Douglas Ross. Yeah. Heroes in a half shell.
Turtle power.
They're the world's most fearsome. Sorry, no. A guy who was with his family was shipwrecked.
Right.
And look, it's a very interesting story. I'm
Tune
not going to
in,
give too much away
I
now.
already like it. I'll be tuning in.
That's next
I'll
week.
be here. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sound. So look, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks for listening in, and we'll catch up with you next week. Oh, just before we go, look, if you get a chance to jump onto our iTunes,
SoundCloud, Spotify.
Yeah, but if you get onto our iTunes one, if you could give us an old 5-star rating and leave us a comment, because it really helps the podcast grow.
Yeah, come on. That'd be great.
Cheers, guys. All right, we'll catch you next week. I've been Rob. He's been Rats. And see you later. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Rob Rat Podcast. Be sure to check out our social media for updates on the next episode. And if you liked what you heard, then let us know by hitting the subscribe button, sending us a message, and telling a friend, because that's how the podcast grows. Thanks for listening.